So you can see how it's fairly straightforward in in doing a segmentation analysis to just divide into different groups of consumers, and that's sort of what we can do. I'll have that file up for you probably when we come back. And so just quickly, one of the big questions, and it's still a question worth asking, is there a difference between segments? And I had that data, I collected the data, and I've divided people into males and females. I've got a model, we've got a model, the people I used to work with, which is called the Dirichlet model. It gives expected rates for consumer measures of consumption. So this is definitely not examinable. If you just want to fall asleep right now, go right ahead. But when we put males and females into, when we do an analysis of the whole market, the observed and the theoreticals for all of these things. So let's say I've run a model, which is the template of how the market should look, and then I've looked at the theoreticals. So the observed and the theoreticals. So the model says this is how the market should look. It's a fairly well-established model. And the observation is how the market really looks. So I put males and females into the model, and we end up seeing, you know, consumption levels, market share of beer, huge deviation in that direction around market share penetration against beer, wine, and spirits. Really quite large deviations there for the model doesn't fit very well. If I look at males only, then this model, which tells us how these measures, market share, penetration, purchase rate, all of that stuff. This model that tells us how it should go tends to fit quite a bit better. You know, market share estimates have an overall deviation of 3. It's a bit bumpy there, but a lot of these other measures have lower mean absolute deviations, and then when we look at females only, so does splitting the market into segments do a better job of describing the natural behaviour? Again, the deviations, the mean absolute deviation goes down to 2, close enough to zeros there, and 3. So I've always liked, you know, I'm really big on evidence-based marketing, and you know, the fact that people say segmentation exists, well, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that segmentation exists. In this case, though, it certainly does. Yeah. Look, I talk for hours about that, and I won't. But the model that I used to come up with this stuff has they're both probability. It's a probability-based model. So you've got a probability distribution for how much alcohol people produce. So you fit one probability density function to the alcohol purchases per consumer, and that actually you get some parameters for that, and it gives you a fairly good estimate of how many standard drinks per week a person will drink. And then there's a second probability density function that once you've estimated how what the shares for beer, wine, and spirits are, you get some more parameters for that, and then you just apply do some other algebra, and it gives you some estimates for what the market share, penetration, and purchase frequency are. It works really well. It's called the Dirichlet model, of buyer behaviour. I might as well write it. It was a whole PhD for me. It was done in 1984. It was published. They've been doing it since 1975. And this model basically is like instant coffee. It'll fit these highly substitutable categories really well. So Nescafe versus Maxim versus Folgers and all that. It does a really good job of representing how the consumers chop and change, and what sort of loyalty you can expect to measure and all of that. I don't like going off on that tangent too far sometimes, But it's a normative market model, that Dirichlet model. It's a normative market model. The fact that when we split the genders, we got a better fit of this model, which is a pretty good little normative model. It gave me a bit of evidence to say, okay, well, segmentation in this case does exist. Marketers live and die by the idea of segmentation. And if you and when you do your assignment 2, as it's called, you could say, actually the golden key to answering that question in assignment 2 is to say the variables that I think apply to my particular product are probably, because sometimes gender doesn't really apply at all. Like I'll go back to water, to bottled water. Is gender as important in bottled water is it as important as income or age? Probably not. Like the males and females, there's not that. It's not that relevant to differences in buying behaviour. So in answering your assignment 2 question, you could probably do that, and you should do that. Segmentation. I think the question says segmentation relating to your product. You can say, well, all right. The product that we are selling, remember the first step of segmentation is dividing the generic type product that you do. The product we're selling is, I'll stay with water, the product we're selling is water, nothing special but just standard hydration water, any sort of water that you could buy in a supermarket. The variables that seem to apply here are possibly age and income, or whatever, and then you could say, and I think the segments that my particular brand is going after is going for young consumers, or actually no. If we're saying bottled water, medium age, 20-year-old to 50-year-old consumers that have got a reasonable amount of money to spend, or something like that. Yep. Yeah. Segmentation can be done in business to business, and it's probably and it is good to talk about that. That business to business segmentation are more things like the industry type that they're in. Are they in manufacturing or service industries? Often geographic segmentation. So are they East Coast or West Coast in a Singapore sense? Annual spend, all of that type of thing, how many employees they have. So there's still a whole bunch of variables that you can use for segmentation in B2B. Yep. All right. When you come back, we'll have a quickie, and when you come back, I'll quickly talk about lifestyle segmentation and a little bit about consumer behaviour, lifestyle segmentation, and those effective segmentation criteria. That's really important stuff. It's one of those slides there. Effective segmentation criteria. So let's take.
The company has a variety of products. We just pick one, or we.
Yeah, excellent point. I get this question all the time when people say, well, my company operates in 3 countries and it has 10 products. This is going to be a hard job, and it's quite simple. Make it as simple as you can. One country, one product, think of the product, and then just do the analysis for that particular product. In your introduction, you can quite easily say, we've got a whole range of products for the purpose of this. We're only going to do this one. Yeah, no problems at all. Very good. Well, let's make it 2:45 according to that. 2:45. And what time are we finishing? Sometime between 3 and 3:40. Is everybody reasonably comfortable about that? I will get everything you need to be able to do that as assignment 2. I will get all of that in front of you. I can assure you that we won't miss out on that. we might end up doing less of the critiques game, or anything like that. But there's no way that you'll leave this place without having absolutely. And I will go through the rubric, how I will mark it. So you'll know exactly what you need to do before we go. But we'll still be able to get out of here by 3:40, or you will.
Yep.